Hello everyone, welcome back. Today in this tutorial I am trying to explaining about thread priorities and thread pool. So in last video I already explained about multi-threading introduction, what is sequential processing and what is parallel processing. So and moreover that how many ways to create a thread by extending thread class by implementing runnable interface and moreover that thread lifecycle. So I explained in detail with an example. If you did not watch that video, watch that video, then start learning thread priorities. So thread priorities is nothing but if you have more than one thread, so which thread want to get first chance? In that case, if we can provide thread priorities, then JVM will decide according to thread scheduler. So of course, even though if you are trying to provide thread priorities, we can't give guarantee. I mean that maximum thread get first chance. So that will be depending on JVM implementation that is specific to platform. Either it will vary for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So depending on that JVM implementation. So we have constant for setting priorities corresponding methods like set priority and get priority. For getting priority, what is the current thread priority? We can get by using get priority. If we want to set priority, we have method like set priority method. So and moreover that we have constants like max priority, normal priority, min priority. These are the three constants we have. So of course, if you have your requirement among these three, you can write some integer. You can create some constants. So thread priorities range will be 1 to 10, and 10 is the max priority, and 1 is the min priority, and 5 is normal priority. These are the three priorities by default available. If you want, you can write your own priority between this range. So to set these priorities, these are the constraints. We have method like set priority. Set priority with integer parameter, whatever this range, right? 1 to 10. For get priority corresponding thread, we have method like get priority. So these are the methods, and this is the thread priorities range. So how to set priority? So if imagine you create the thread, so let me try to create thread by using runnable interface. Runnable, or I am trying to provide lambda expression for run method implementation, just like I am trying to write s out some statements. So let me try to write current thread name, thread dot current thread dot get name. So it will provide currently executed thread name. So now I can pass that runnable reference to thread class constructor, new thread. So whatever I created here, right, that I am trying to pass here. Now I can set priority by using t dot, this is the thread, right? This is my thread implementation. So this is my thread name, I mean this is my thread reference. For the by using the thread reference, we can set priority. Set priority is the one of the method that exists inside thread. So set priority. So if you can provide these priority constants, you can use thread dot, all those are constant and static variables, thread dot max priority. Constant, right? That's why all letters are in uppercase. So like this we can provide. Then if we have more than one thread like this, in that case max thread priority will get first chance. This, in this case, t is the max priority, right? It will get first chance. If we have more than one thread having same priority, so then which thread? Imagine if we have 10 threads. So 10 threads also having same priority. This thread is having max, I mean 10, max, max, max. Like this, this is the one, this is the 10. Also having all threads having same priority. In that case, thread scheduler will decide. So if we have all threads are having same priority, in that case we can't predict. Even though if we are having max priority, remaining all are less than max priority, we can't give guarantee. max priority thread get first chance. Why? Because that will depend on platform specific implemented by JVM, right? JVM is platform dependent, right? So depending on that platform, we can that will decide which thread got first chance. So this is about priorities, and if you want to get t dot get priority, this is the method. Anyway, I will write the example. At the time of writing example in IDE, I will explain set priority, get priority, and this is the thread priority range. So instead of this constant, you can write on your own constant. I mean between this range 1 to 10. If you want, instead of I don't want max priority as a 10, if you want, you can provide 9 also, no problem for this set priority. Why? Because the parameter type is integer type, you can pass. So like this, the main purpose of thread priority is to provide which thread got first chance. Next one is thread pool. Let me try to explain about thread pool. So the name itself indicates that pool is nothing but number of threads. We can call it as a group of threads. We can call it as a thread pool. So let me explain the problem without a thread pool. So if you have requirement, if you want to create 10 threads, so without this thread pool concept, so you need to create threads manually 10 times for 10 threads. Thread T1 and corresponding new thread, you need to pass some runnable reference to this thread class constructor like this T1. So your requirement is 10 threads, so you need to create 10 threads like this new and corresponding thread class constructor like this. So this is the problem, 10 times I need to create. And moreover that, if sometimes I want to greater than this also 20, I want to create again 10 more threads manually. So to overcome this problem, this thread pool concept will be introduced. So by using this thread pool, depending on my requirement, I create n number of threads at a time. So let me try to explain about that. So by using executor service, we will get this thread pool concept. So how we can get, let me try to explain. So executor service is an interface from java.util.concurrent package. So executor service, so executor service is an interface. So one of the utility class is executors dot new, one of the factory method is new fixed thread pool. So this is the factory method. You need to pass integer parameter like here in this case 10 threads, right? If I can pass 10 here for this new fixed thread pool, I will show you when I'm writing the example in IDE. So new fixed thread pool with integer parameter. So this method is expecting integer parameter. Depending on your requirement, you can create that, you can pass that number of threads. So once you have threads available, then you can submit the tasks to this corresponding threads. Then it will start each task doing, but each task doing that separate thread. Here 10 threads, right? By using the 10 threads, one of the thread will complete your task. Let me try to imagine I am trying to create 10 tasks. So for that, first I am trying to create one class my task that implements runnable. So inside this I am trying to create one parameter like int task id and parameterized constructor my task id. So I am trying to initialize at the time of creating parameterized constructor, I will initialize that. So task id, this dot, I think here this dot task id. So task id, I am trying to initialize instance variable task id. Anyway, this is the pseudocode. Imagine this is the parameterized constructor. So I need to override run method, right? So public void run, it is zero argument parameter, right? I mean zero argument method. So run method. So here I am inside this in run method. I am trying to build simple logic like, so which task is executing and the corresponding thread name. So current task with id. So task id. So corresponding task id I am trying to pass, right? I am trying to access here task id plus thread name. So thread name. So anyway, by using thread dot current thread dot get name, by using that method we can access that thread name. So here I am trying to write pseudocode. So this is my task class. So for this task class, so I am trying to create 10 tasks. So by using for loop, for I equal to 1 or 0 also no problem, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. So I am trying to create reference for my task by using runnable reference, runnable r. So runnable reference is r. So this is my task, right? So I am trying to create parameterized constructor new my task. So that parameterized constructor is expecting integer, right? These I value I am trying to pass, that is the task id. So once the task is available with that runnable reference, I am trying to submit my task to executor service. Executor service dot one of the method exists inside that executor service is submit. So I am trying to pass this reference. So now each task will be submitted to one of the thread that exists inside this thread pool. So imagine this is the thread pool with 10 different threads it will create. So when I am trying to submit my first task, one of the thread it will out of these 10 threads, one of the thread will get chance to do my task, I mean first task. So we can't guess the guarantee first thread or 10 threads, right? So we can't guess which thread got first task doing, I mean for doing first task which thread got chance. So that will be decided by thread scheduler. This is about submitting task to thread scheduler. Once the my 10 tasks are done by 10 different threads, I need to shut down this thread schedule, I mean thread executor service. So executor service dot shutdown. So this is about thread pool concept. So I will explain example with an example after writing example in, I mean in next session. I mean next session means once I complete this I will write. So thread pool is nothing but group of threads. So why thread pool is coming? To overcome this problem. If you want to create n number of threads manually, instead of that, by using this single line, right, we are trying to create, if requirement is 10, 10 threads, if your requirement is 20 or 50 like this, then it will create thread pool 10, 20 threads or 50 threads. Then you can submit your task to that corresponding service. It will done your task each different thread. I mean each task is done by separate thread. Then once your task is done, you can stop that thread by using this I mean executor service. You can start by using executor service dot shutdown. So this is about thread pool. Now let me try to explain about thread priorities and thread pool with some examples. For that I already created one file called thread priorities example.java. Let me try to create main method. So main method is having normal priority. Let me show you that. I mean main thread is having normal priority. So to get main thread, so we can call thread dot current thread. Inside main is executing under main thread, right? So to get that main thread, so we can call current thread. So I am trying to assign to a variable thread. So if I can print thread dot get priority is the one of the method, right? So I already explained here, right? If you can observe, we try to minimize it. So if here I explained, right, to get priority we have one method called get priority. So that is the method I am trying to apply here. Once you have thread reference, we can apply get priority method. So if I can run now, so this is the main method, I mean main thread priority. So if you have doubt this is main thread or not, So let me try to write one more as out. So thread dot get name. If I can run, so this is main thread, right? Main thread having normal priority. If we can go to that priority, so here we can observe right, so normal priority. So we have three priorities: min priority, normal priority, max priority. So here main thread by default having normal priority. So this is one important point you need to remember. So if you have custom thread, if you want to provide max priority, you can provide. Let me try to show you that how to provide thread priority. So I am trying to implement a runnable interface. Instead of implementation, I am trying to write lambda expression. So just I am trying to print that thread name. So any logic you can write depending on your requirement. So in that case, thread dot current thread dot get name, I am trying to write in single line all instead of assigning and accessing like that. So by using the thread class only, I am trying to access at a time current thread and get name. So for this reference, we need to pass to thread class constructor to start the thread child thread. So thread class t new thread. So need to pass that runnable reference. Next we need to start a thread. Now if I can run, so this is the child thread, right? So if you want to check that what is the priority for my child thread, so by default JVM will provide normal priority only. Let me show you that. So once I started, before that also, after that also I can check. So t dot get priority. So this is the method. I will get like 5. So 5 only, right? If you have doubt, let me try to provide some message here. So child thread priority. Now let me try to run it. So child thread priority is 5. So if you want to override this thread name, child thread is thread of 0, right? So instead of that, if you don't like this thread of 0, you can override, you can set the thread name also. T dot set, one of the method will be thread, one of the method will be there called set name. So in that case, you can pass your child. We can run now. So child thread priority, here if you can observe, thread name is instead of thread -0, I got child thread. Why? Because here I set the thread name by using set name method. So by using get name, we will get name, get of the current, name of the current thread. By using set name, we can set the current thread name. And get priority, we can get the priority. Set priority, we can set the priority. So by default, my runnable R thread, here thread T, it is providing normal priority, right? So main thread also having normal priority. If you want to override that priority, you can override, no problem. So t dot set priority, one of the method. If you can observe that set priority method is expecting integer parameter. So I can call thread dot max priority. Now if I can run that, so child thread priority is 10, main thread priority is 5. So this is about setting thread priority, getting thread priority depending on our requirement. So instead of these these three thread priorities, if I can pass 8 also, no problem. So child thread priority is 8. So if I can pass beyond that, so we will get illegal argument exception. So we need to pass the range within that range only, 1 to 10. If you can pass 11 also, you will get illegal argument exception. So and moreover that, if we can pass 0 also, illegal argument exception. Why? Because the range will be 1 to 10, then only thread priorities are applicable. You won't get any exception, otherwise you will get illegal argument exception. So this is about thread priorities. Now let me try to explain about thread pool. So thread pool is nothing but, if you want to create more than one thread at a time, instead of creating thread 1, thread 2, thread 3 like that, so by using executor service, you can create number of threads depending on your requirement. So for that, let me try to create first my task. I am trying to create one class. my task that implements runnable. So I need to override run method. Then here I am trying to create one parameterized constructor and one variable. So int task id. So parameterized constructor I am trying to pass here. Default constructor. Now inside that run method, what I am trying to do, just I am trying to print the thread name and task id. So current task. So I need to wrap inside string. So current task with id. So currently executing task with id, and task id is dynamic, and thread name I'm trying to print thread dot current thread dot get name is the one of the method that exists inside thread class, right? So we will get thread class thread name by using current thread dot get name. So this is my task. So I am writing just a out statement inside that run method. So for this task I am trying to create 10 tasks. For 10 tasks I am trying to create either it may be 10 threads or 5 threads depending on my requirement I will create. So let me try to do that. How we can do by using executor service. So executor service is from java dot concurrent package. So executor service java dot util dot concurrent package. So executor service. So executors dot. So we have executors. Yeah, this one. Executors dot new fixed thread pool. So here we have overloaded method, right? First one I am trying to use. So with integer parameter n number of threads. So I am trying to create 5 threads. So for these 5 threads, I am trying to create 10 tasks. So int I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. You can start from 1 also, no problem. So 10 tasks I am trying to create. So for that, first I need to create reference here, right? So first I am trying to create a runnable reference. Its implementation is my tasks. So new my task I am trying to provide task id. Here it is. I am at the time of iterating I am trying to pass when I am getting integer value, right? For that value I am trying to pass here it as a task id. So once I got that, then I need to submit that executor service dot submit. So here one of the method is submit, right? Runnable. So this is also overloaded method. I am trying to use second one or. So once my task is done I am trying to shut down. I don't want, I mean, that remaining 5 threads I am trying to explicitly create, right? The threads are costly, right? We need to, once our task is done we need to close. So executor service dot shutdown. Once the threads are completed I am trying to use a shutdown method. Return type is void. Now let me try to run it. So if we can observe here, for doing 10 tasks, I am trying to create. So task ID thread pool. So if you can observe here, thread name is pool 1 thread 1. Pool 1, I mean, here I am trying to create only one pool, right? So that's why it is considering some naming convention. Pool 1 thread 1. So here if you can observe 5 threads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So order is not important, but if you can observe here, thread 1, thread 2, thread 5, thread 4, thread 3. Anyway, we have 1 to 5 range, right? But range will be 1 to 5. But order we can't predict, right? But here if you can observe exactly 5 threads are created. So if you want to create 7 threads, so now observe. So 7 is there, right? The range. 1 I found, 2 I found, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So some thread got two times. Some thread, I mean thread 1 got chance two times for printing 8 task ID. Task ID is 8 and task ID is 0. Thread 1 got two times chance. Thread 5 also, I think thread 5 got, thread 5 also, thread 4, I mean task ID is 4 and task ID is 7. Thread 5 also got two times chance. Like this, depending on our requirement, you can create threads instead of creating in previous example, right? So if you want to create one more thread, again I need to implement runnable interface. Anyway, the logic will be specific to your task, but I need to create these many number of threads, right? Thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, thread 4, like that, thread 10, like that. Instead of that, by using this executor service that exists inside java.util concurrent package, we can create number of threads by using this thread pool. So depending on your task, you can provide that executor submit method, then it will execute with that corresponding method. So once our service is done, then we can shut down by using shutdown method. So this is the advantage of thread pool. So I hope you got some clarity on thread priorities and thread pool. If you like the content, hit on like button and subscribe Programming KT. Thanks for watching.